Hi, my name is Sam Massoud, and I'll be presenting my work as an assistant sound designer in Allied Crafts on José Rivera's Marisol. By trade, I'm a musician. That's the mindset I walked in with. My first weapon being the creative process I use for music. It's 4 words. Create first, adjust later. The ability to create something and not immediately pass judgment on it. And I can assure you that that is maddening and incredibly painful. So an hour of creating in reality might be 15 minutes of recording and 45 minutes of thinking about what I just did, and if it's going to sound good, or please my colleagues who've been doing this for a lot longer than I have. The other tool I was using was my understanding of the harmonic function. In other words, how music responds with itself. All music is tension and resolution. Without tension, the music is static. Imagine getting into a running car and staying in your driveway. And on the other hand, without resolution, we're left with a feeling of incompleteness. Imagine driving endlessly with no destination and a bottomless tank of gas. So with that in mind, I approached it similarly to how I write music, with a few mental notes about how I want it to sound and feel and what story I'm trying to convey. The big difference being the function. Instead of using sound to tell the story, I am using sound to support the story. And the first bit of inspiration I had for this was the basic premise of the play. Guardian angels going into open revolt against God and planet Earth falling apart. So that begs the question, what kind of sounds do I use to support the idea of holy apocalypse? The first words that came to my mind were along the lines of dreamlike, otherworldly, and supernatural. So that's when I started looking for sound cues in this script. There were specific ones, like the cocking of a gun or cockroaches, and then there were indirect ones, like when the angel reacts and turns somebody to salts. So before anything was happening on stage, I began my work by pulling sounds from YouTube in a sound library. And then came the paper tech rehearsal, where we watched a dry run of the play with only stage direction and dialogue, so we sat in dead silence watching the story unfold. You might as well be putting a blank canvas in front of Bob Ross. The greatest source of inspiration here was watching the scene where Marisol's guardian angel visits her and warns her about the impending doom. The angel walked slowly around the room, snapping her fingers a few times, and at one point brings Marisol to her feet with telekinesis like this. And that's really our first look into this other universe. A bulk of the work was either created on a dictaphone or from scratch on my synthesizer. This is where the concept of tension and resolution come in. How do we put the audience into the supernatural world? So I created some sound effects and some original music, which ties in that creative process again. Improvising at the keyboard, not thinking about it, and then sending it along to the crew to see if it fits or if I need to adjust it to make it fit. Thank you for listening to my presentation.